Psychology. Human nature has changed little since the time of primitive man. Our understanding of the forces which control behavior, however, has increased immeasurably with the development of scientific methods of inquiry in the field of psychology. Only a century ago, psychology was completely unscientific. Now, psychology is an independent science, the latest discipline to be separated from philosophy. Lord Russell maintained, however, that our knowledge of psychology was not used to its fullest advantage in solving the ancient problem of how men can live together in peace. The good life he summed up in a single phrase: the good life is one inspired by love and guided by knowledge. Lord Russell said that the fundamental motives that appeal to most men were our acquisitiveness, vanity, rivalry, and love of power. In politics, for example, the springs of human action are derived from these four basic drives. He observed a classical axiom of human behavior when he noted that man cannot forget the rudiments of his barbaric past despite his recent adventure into the space odyssey. Since 1950, the species man has acquired more knowledge than in all its previous history, yet his remote ancestors still remind him of his primitive past. Must his insatiable appetites be the epitaph of his ultimate folly? Not often in his long and perhaps multifarious career did Lord Russell chose to remain free from the mainstreams of both popular and scientific controversy. For example, his harsh disapproval of traditional organized religion is well documented and known to the literate public. What is generally known, however, is that his seminal contributions to the evolution of logic and mathematics with Whitehead in early years of the 20th century upset and in fact contradicted the authoritarian views of Aristotle, which had been cached in Hoary tradition for over 2000 years. Russell and Whitehead demonstrated that the basic assumptions and premises of logic and mathematics are identical. Lord Russell refused to remain silent on any issue until death stilled his voice. Few modern thinkers dare to be as candid in the expression of unwelcome thoughts as Lord Russell. His attitude was uncompromising. He was not afraid to run the risk of questioning sacred matters in spite of the fact that his free views exposed him to repeated attacks by bigots and obscurantists. Those who fear the embarrassment of having their noble facade dismantled quietly naturally rebel against anyone who suggests a critical examination of their motives and beliefs. A number of the selections in his chapter were taken from Lord Russell's Nobel Prize acceptance speech delivered at Stockholm in 1950. In his lecture, his keen observation and sharp satires are focused on human passion and their effect upon mankind. Such topics as vanity, power, and love of excitement are stripped of their customary trappings and laid out in nude to lie in the state. Many of the things that Lord Russell attacked during his long and often stormy life, his specific attacks on religion, politics, sex, has not been corrected, but his sharper satires have not been dulled either. Probably the best and certainly the most succinct description of the literary style, in that each sentence of his prose was like a polished gem. Vanity is a motive of immense potency. Anyone who has much to do with children knows how they are constantly performing some antic and saying, look at me, look at me. in one of the fundamental desires of human heart. It can take innumerable forms, from buffoonery to the pursuit of posthumous fame. There was a Renaissance Italian princeling who was asked by the priest on his deathbed if he had anything to repent of. Yes, he said, there is one thing. On one occasion, I had a visit from the emperor and the pope simultaneously. I took them to the top of my tower to see the view, and I neglected the opportunity to throw them both down, which would have given me immortal fame. History does not relate whether the priest gave him absolution. In PAS, I once befriended two little girls from Estonia who had narrowly escaped death from starvation in a famine. They lived in my family and, of course, had plenty to eat, but they spent all their leisure visiting neighboring farms and stealing potatoes, which they hoarded. Rockefeller, who is in his infancy had experienced great poverty, spent his adult life in a similar manner. Human beings show their superiority to the brutes by their capacity for boredom, though I have sometimes thought in examining the apes of the zoos that they perhaps have the rudiments of their tiresome mention. However, that may be. Experience shows that escape from boredom is one of a really powerful desire of almost all human beings. When white men first effect contact with some unspoiled race of savages, they offer them all kinds of benefits, from the light of the gospel to pumpkin pie. These, however, much as we may regret it, most savages receive with indifference. What they really value among the gifts that we bring to them is intoxicating liquor, which enables them for the first time in their lives to have the illusion for a few brief moments that it is better to be alive than dead. In PAS, the vanity where vanity needs for its satisfaction is glory, and it is easy to have glory without power. The people who enjoy the greatest glory in the United States are the film stars, but they can be put in their place by committee for un-American activities which enjoys no glory whatever.